I don't know if it's my new haircut. I don't know if it's my new haircut or if it's just the mood that I'm in, but I thought that today I would do a very polarizing video. If you all haven't seen the show Felicity with Carrie Russell, it was a show that came out in the 90s, I believe. That show, Carrie Russell, I'll put a picture up somewhere, but she had this beautiful mane of a hair that was gorgeous, long, curly, blonde hair. And in the show Felicity, I believe it was either in the second or third season, she cuts her hair off. Again, I'll put pictures in. And in that moment of the show, their ratings dropped. And so I had wondered, oh my goodness, are my ratings gonna drop because I cut my hair off? No, but now I'm doing a video that will probably, hopefully, hold your Rotten Tomatoes because it might get me booted off of BookTube. So if you're new, hi, I'm Shelly, and this is my BookTube channel. And on my BookTube journey, I have realized that I'm really trying to define myself as a reader. I'm constantly looking for new books to read, new genres to dip into, and new authors to love. And this is a journey that I've been on my whole life, and I've just recently gotten very serious about it, especially on BookTube. So today what I'm going to be doing is talking about authors or books that everyone seems to love but me. Now, this is definitely an overstatement because I know that not everybody loves these authors or these books, but they are well loved on BookTube. However, I think that on my journey to define myself as a reader, to define what I like and don't like, I think it's important to talk about the books that I don't like, the authors that I don't like, and to probably explain to you all why I don't like these authors, these books, and why they didn't work for me. And that way, we can start a conversation. I believe that we can disagree about things that we like and dislike and still be friends. And I believe that I joined a corner of BookTube that often disagrees with each other and often still stay friends. So that's my hope for this video. And again, sort of hold your rotten fruit, be kind in the comments. This is all lighthearted and fun, and I'm not going to just poop on an author. I have very specific reasons as to why I don't like these authors or these books. Okay, so the first one I'm going to start is going to be a very well-loved author here on BookTube, and that is the George R.R. Martin. Oh my gosh, okay. George R.R. Martin, who I've often called, John R.R. Martin, or, I've mixed him up with Tolkien, which I love Tolkien, but the Song of Ice and Fire series, I read the first two books in this series some years ago. Back then, I was definitely I was for sure deep into sub-vocalization, which means that I heard a voice in my head as I was reading, and that means that my reading speed was very, very slow. So I've always been like, I want to be a series reader, and so I picked up the Song of Ice and Fire series. I think that's right. And I read the first two books, and the reason why I stopped with the series is because the moment that Martin started to expand the world and introduce us to an onslaught of brand new characters. So the moment that George R.R. Martin started to introduce the readers to an onslaught of brand new characters, I had this moment where I asked myself, do I want to continue with this series? And because it took me so long to read the books, I decided no, I don't. Now, I will say that I might change, I probably won't change my mind with him and his books, but I'm a little more open to longer and to longer series now, because I've learned how to speed up my reading, to speed read, to not go back and reread, and to minimize my sub-vocalization, though I'm still working on it. So I'm a little more open to lighter, fluffier reads or longer series. Whereas before I took them very seriously and read every single word and reread to make sure that I understood the passage. I was like that kind of reader, and then I sort of loosened my grip on my reading, and now I can go a bit faster. So I do think that I could easily go back or read an author that has written a very long series and enjoyed it more. But for now, the Song of Ice and Fire series is going to stay on my never touch again shelf. So yeah. Okay, 1 second. Before we continue with my conversation, I do not look down upon anyone who likes these books, these authors, or even people who like genres that are different from me. I think readers are readers, like what you like. Don't take my word and sway you from liking what you like. That would be just terrible. I'm just one opinion, and I'm just expressing what I dislike. Okay, the next one. Okay, I've mentioned this before. Hold your rotten fruit. Keep kind words in the comments. But it is Stephen King. Okay, so I've read 2 books by Stephen King, Salem's Lot and Firestarter. I read both of them alongside my husband. They were fun reads, but I have learned since then that and I know there have been recommendations for Stephen King's non-horror series. Again, I don't look down upon anybody who loves Stephen King. One of my dear friends, Stephen King is his favorite author. But Stephen King's just not for me. If I'm going to read a really prolific author, I think it would be someone who doesn't dabble in the horror genre. There's just so many other authors I want to get to, and though I can appreciate Stephen King's prolific writing, I am probably going to stay away. Now, the reason why I dislike King is probably because he's so straightforward. I don't think that he's super layered. He's not literary. I don't know. I thought he was fine. That's kind of like what I think of him. He's just a fine author. He can write fine stories. I know that's probably not super articulate. I'm like, if I'm gonna read a fine author, I would really rather read somebody who's like cozy, or maybe writes light romances, writes more like happy stories, because that's more of the reader that I am. But yeah, and again, I have thought many times I want to read Under the Dome. I want to read The Shining. These are books that I have thought about reading, but because I am a slower reader, someone who reads a little more slowly, sometimes his large books, though they appeal to me to a side of the reader that likes long tomes, I don't know if a tome is what I want to pick up from Stephen King. There are many other tomes that I want to pick up from other authors. So yeah, no rotten fruit here. Okay, the third author I talked about very recently, and that would be Lemony Snicket, his series of unfortunate events. And as I talked to folks in the comments about this series, he is well loved. I do not look down upon anybody who likes his writing, but I realized that very specifically, I don't like Lemony Snicket's sarcastic voice. And then I began thinking about the sarcastic voices that I've read from authors that I love. And then I thought about Kate DiCamillo, and this is The Tale of Despereaux. She has a wry narrator here, a narrator who's got a very distinct voice, though stays outside of the story, and isn't an unrealistic, unreliable narrator, but somebody who is definitely a bit snarky, a bit sarcastic. Oh, 1 second. So as I was saying, Kate DiCamillo, she has a very wry narrator, somebody who's quite snarky, not unreliable, just somebody who has a very clear and distinct voice in the story. And I like her other books better, where she's a little more earnest, a little more sincere. I think it works better for her writing style. And though this book is loved by kids and adults alike, I mean, this is like, some kids really just love this book. I think it maybe works better for kids, but as I am more of an honest and earnest not honest, but more of an earnest and sincere person. When I hear voices that are a bit snarky and a bit sarcastic, it just doesn't work for me. So sarcastic narrators in these books didn't work for me. Okay, the next one is, and I don't have the copy, I think I just gave it away. I put it in the little free library. And I thought it was a fine read, but the internet seemed to go gaga over it. And that would be Celeste Ng's Little Fires Everywhere. I read this book. My sister gave it to me. She didn't get along with it. She said it was kind of boring. So I tried it. I definitely liked it more than she did. I enjoyed the story, but I didn't really understand why everybody went really gaga over it. They said it was super nuanced, really deep. That these are the things that I feel like the internet as a whole really enjoyed. Part of it was because it took me a very long time to read the book. I believe I was still in graduate school, and so what would happen is that I would read a few chapters, put it down for a few days, pick it up for a few chapters, and then put it down again for a few days. And so it took me a long time to read the book, and I've learned since then that I like to spend a couple of hours with a book, if possible, to really get into the story, to really read the story. To get into the characters and the rhythm of the author's writing. And with Little Fires Everywhere, I didn't give myself that opportunity. So it was a learning experience. And I also think it was one where expectations didn't meet reality. If I had gone into the book knowing that the story was going to be maybe not, this literary, this profound literary piece of work, and that it was really a more it was a lighter read with lots of layers. If I went in knowing that, I think I would have got along with the book a lot more. So again, this is more of like a me thing. Well, all of these are a me thing, where I feel like expectation didn't meet the reality of my reading and my experience with the story. However, I don't think it's a bad book, but I know there's a show on the book. I have no interest in watching the show. I have no interest in reading any more of Celeste Ng's work. Not because I think she's a bad writer, but I don't know, the story didn't do it for me. I wish there was a little bit more depth to it, but again, I think it was more of a expectation versus reality type of deal. Okay, the last one, oh goodness, I really please don't boot me off the book too, and that would be Sally Rooney's Normal People. Again, the internet went gaga about this book, Sally Rooney's book. The internet is going gaga over her new book. Normal People, I thought was a good story. It was fine. And again, I think it might be the expectation versus reality. A lot of people are talking about Sally Rooney's nuance with characters and the depth of them. And I didn't get that at all. I almost immediately realized that Sally Rooney was writing to a format, to a very specific cadence, that she does this thing where she goes forward in time, and then within the chapter she goes back to explain what happened, to bring you up to the present with her two main characters. And I recognized the pattern right away, and then from there the read sort of tanked, because I was like, okay, we're gonna move forward, and I know that some people write to a formula, but when you can feel the cadence of the chapter, sometimes that is a little bit weary for me as a reader. I want somewhere where we're kind of exploring and going through the journey together, and I kind of don't know where it's gonna go. I also was a little bit disappointed in the nuance that others found in her writing. One of the synonyms for depression is feeling unworthy, and that is the closest synonym that I can think of to depression in regards to how one feels. And she uses that, and I was like, man, I have read books that explore depression, that have Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway explores the idea of depression, and she talks about depression in with greater sense of language, with a more variety of language than Sally Rooney did. And I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't be comparing Sally Rooney to Virginia Woolf, but again, I felt like everybody went really gaga over this. Unfortunately for Sally Rooney, I also read the virgin suicides at the same time. And Jeffery Eugenides really just is somebody that I really love as an author. I read the virgin suicides and then immediately went and read Middlesex, and I really loved his like poetic and floral writing, the way that he dug into the depths of a character, the internal lives of a character. If you can't tell, that's one of my favorite things to read about, is character and their internal lives. And I love that he wrote it in the first person plural, and that he talked about the 5, I forget the last names, Lisbon girls maybe? Okay, I got interrupted. But what I loved about Eugenides is that he uses the perspective of the neighborhood boys to try and understand the girls that were so mysterious, and the sisters that were so mysterious to them. And I've really just enjoyed that story. I enjoyed this little book a lot. And unfortunately for Sally Rooney, I read Eugenides at the same time, and I was able to compare, even though I didn't mean to, but it happened, and I compared their writing, and Eugenides was just someone that really just climbed to the top of the charts as somebody that I just adored his writing style, and in the topics that he explored. He's kind of got this poetic yet grotesque writing style, and for a minute there I had mega heart eyes for Jeffery Eugenides. I couldn't stop talking about him. Okay, so that is it. Again, this is not to say that that you're a bad person. If you like any of these authors were just ones that didn't work for me. And I would love to see this from other people. Maybe books that were super popular that you just couldn't understand why, or that you didn't get along with, where you felt like the odd man out. And again, I'm not trying to stir up controversy or make anyone feel bad for what they like. That is, you like what you like and stand by it, because that's what I do. I stand by the books that I like, even if the internet tells me that I shouldn't. And yeah, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye, guys.